Hello, everyone. This is Carla Valeclan from the Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Conventions. Thank you for joining this webinar, which aims at giving you a little bit of an idea about the fifth reporting cycle of the Stockholm reporting obligation. And my suggestion to you is that I go through my presentation, which gives these highlights, as I mentioned, and at the end we can discuss any questions you may have. So can Filomena or Dan confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, Carla, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I start this presentation thinking that, some of you or most of you are involved in the area of reporting under the Stockholm Convention. I suppose that some of you are the official contact points for your country or work with these designated authorities. And in general, these presentations are more for people who are starting the job than for those who have been involved with the convention implementation for many years. But there is always something new here. So even for the colleagues who have been there for a long time, perhaps some of this information could be useful for you. I started always with this motivation to reflect about why reporting is important, because many people have the sensation that it's a lot of obligations, but actually this is an important method to learn about your own. So my first motivation to you is that when you are preparing your report, you should think about that you are collecting data and information about your own country, and therefore you are also learning about the implementation of the convention, and you can also act on it depending on what you find out. The second motivation is regarding the collective effort that we have when all parties to the convention provide their reports. That allow all of us, Secretariat, parties, and other stakeholders to assess the different aspects of the implementation of the convention. Under this convention, the Stockholm Convention, we have several assessments that rely on data that we receive in the national reports from countries. And the most famous one is the effectiveness evaluation, but also you have specific ones such as the DDT, PCBs, PFOS, BDEs, etc. So this is an obligation that comes from the convention text, and also there are many decisions that followed it. COP decisions, I mean. This is a picture that shows how reporting under the Stockholm Convention so far has been happening. So we have here the 4 last cycles. We're starting now the 5th cycle. And as you can see, we hardly reach 50% of parties reporting, which is not good. We also see a tendency of many parties being late, and with these kind of webinars that we are doing this week, but also we are going to do more next year, we hope also that some of you manage to submit your reports on time. So not only we would like to increase the number of parties, but we also would like to incentivize you to report on time, and also to be more careful about your reports so that the quality of the data and of the information provided increases. Here are some other slides to help us get motivated about reporting. So this was taken from the effectiveness evaluation report of the last time we did this exercise. And this graphic is using information from national reports. So on the left side of the screen, we see the initial POPs. And on the right side, we see the less initial, let's say, not only the latest ones, but also the second group of POPs that came, and the third, and so forth, in 2009 and 2011. Sorry. In it, you see blue bars, which show the number of parties that have reported and said yes to questions about the implementation of measures to control POPs. So in one picture, we can see the good news about the initial POPs. So many parties have actually provided information about these initial POPs, and they are taking measures to control them. While for the second group, the blue bars are smaller, and in that sense, what we can learn from this picture is that there is still a lot of work to be done. on the party side. So we need more controls in place so that we can fulfill the obligations of the convention. This is only possible, a picture such as this one, because of the NIPs, but also because of reports. And this shows a lot to us and to all those involved in implementation of the convention, also to the POPROC and to the COP, etc. Another one similar graphic showing the production, information about the production of POPs. Again, here you have blues and reds and gray bars. And the blue ones are saying that a few countries still were producing some POPs, while the majority had stopped, which is good news for all of us. And the gray bar actually shows that we didn't get information for some of these POPs, at least for many of them, we don't have any information. And that has to do with either we didn't receive reports from parties, or countries or parties did not respond the questions or tables regarding the production of POPs. Another one showing a historical trend in the use of DDT. Here we can see the sub-Saharan Africa with a dark blue, other regions with light blue, and a line showing the totals. And we could see really the behavior of DDT use over the years. We could see specifically for the sub-Saharan African region, we could see a certain increase until the middle of the 2008, 2009, and then a very steep decrease, which is again good news. So again, this is based on data from National Report. So as you can see, with National Report, we can really understand several important aspects of the implementation of the convention, and therefore it's important that we all play our roles in that. Just quickly recalling the mandate and frequency of this obligation under the Stockholm Convention. So the specific one that I'm highlighting in today's presentation is from Article 15. And parties have basically the need to report on measures to implement the convention and on quantitative data on production, import, and export. The COP then decided that the format of reporting on this is a questionnaire, and that questionnaire was put online. And that's where we are going to cover in this presentation today, how do you access that questionnaire that contains all the questions and tables related to this mandate. The frequency that was decided by the COP is every 4 years. And as I mentioned before, we are entering the 5th reporting cycle with a deadline next year. Here is just a quick recap about the quantitative data, which normally is the type of data that parties have more difficulties in collecting information or data specific and then reporting following that. So we have information on production, export, import of all POPs. We have some details about unintentional POPs and stockpiles and waste. And then we have also specific sessions of the questionnaire on PCB and PFOS. Now, quick highlight about the 5th reporting cycle. So this is the one I mentioned that we are just launching, and we have a couple of updates to highlight to you. So we added information about the most recently listed POPs. So DECA BDE from COP 8, DECA BDE, SCCP, and HCBD in Annex C. And then from COP 9, DICOFOL and PFOA. To support you in doing this 5th reporting cycle, so in the terms of inventories and so on, you have a lot of information under the NIPs. And so several guidance documents are being developed and have been developed to help you organize the inventories on all the POPs covered by this convention. We also got some feedback from parties and from the effectiveness evaluation process, and also the other evaluations that I mentioned, such as PCB and PFOS. For example, there is a small intersessional working group working on PCB. And based on all this feedback, we also improved and changed a few parts of the electronic reporting system. The deadline for the 5th reporting cycle is the 31st of August next year. And all OCPs were notified last week with their user accounts in case they didn't have them, with the information about what has changed, about the deadline, and some information on guidance documents available so far. So here it's a slide showing some kinds of support that are available to help you doing your homework, let's call it. We have in in the pipeline now, the provision of feedback being prepared for you. So we did that in the last cycle as well. That probably will be sent to you in January or February. And that aims at improving the quality of the report submitted. So we only provide feedback to those parties that have submitted a report, but all the other parties that didn't report are not getting this kind of feedback from us because we don't have something to base ourselves on. We have some manuals available for you, and they are available under the convention website under countries reporting guidance. We do webinars such as this one for the general group of countries, but also if in your country it's the first time you're doing, or if you have a new team and you wish to have a specific webinar, we can also try to organize that specifically for you. As I mentioned, we did some improvements on the reporting system, including by launching what we are calling the dashboard, and I will make a short introduction to the dashboard later in my presentation. And we are also reachable via email whenever you need. So please feel free to write to me, and we can try to solve or to help you find the solution to the problems you may have. As I mentioned, so the report in the Stockholm Convention is a questionnaire that was approved by the COP, and we took that questionnaire and put it into the online format, so inside of this electronic reporting system, which is available under the convention website, as the screen is showing. So if you go under countries, you have a menu on reporting, and one of the sub-items of that menu is the electronic reporting system. The system is available in the 6 UN languages, so Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Spanish, and Russian. And this is a very critical part of our work as a secretariat, and I would appreciate very much if any of you who has access to the system, if you see any problem, any difficulty, any bad translation, in case that happens, we use official translators to do that for us, but this requires a lot of manual steps as well. So if you see any problems, please let us know so that we can improve. And we have 2 sets of user accounts that are provided to the OCP. One is for the OCP, him or herself, and that allows for the submission of the report, but also we have an account for the technical officers working with the OCPs, and that can be 1 or more people. So the OCP is the one that, the authority that really, just a sec, please. I'm very sorry. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Things about home office, isn't it? So going back to where I was, so this is an important detail to share with those, especially those who are new. So we have 2 user accounts that were provided to you, to your OCPs, and it aims at helping you to work as a team. So the technical officers are those who are supporting the official contact points, collecting data, coordinating at a national level, and entering those details in the system. And the OCP perhaps is the final one, the final officer who will check the quality and then eventually submit the national report. Here it's a screen showing the overall interface of the electronic reporting system. So it's a web-based system, so you can access it via the web, as I said. You have on the left side the buttons that allow you to navigate through the questionnaire. Also, you have the possibility to navigate on the top bar. And on the main area, the central area of the screen is where you are supposed to enter the data. On the top bar, the top 2 bar, you have a few other buttons to help you. One is the save all changes. So the system also saves your changes, but in case you want to really explicitly be sure that you are doing the savings of what the recent changes you did, please press that button. We also have a button to show the errors that may be available on a specific page. So if you press that button, you'll see if there are any questions or tables that are not filled in, and the system will indicate that for you. We have the option to download document in a Microsoft Word format That doesn't mean that you are going to submit your report in Word, but it's for you to have the option to download the document once you start filling in, and perhaps share with your colleagues and check whether the data is correct and discuss that in a meeting and so on. But the data has to be input online in the system, not submitted via Word. And finally, the logout. It's important also to highlight to you that because the Stockholm Convention wants to evaluate things over time, we normally do a data migration from cycle to cycle, which means that several of your tables and questions are already answered for you based on the previous reporting. And several of those things don't really change from one cycle to another. That's why we do the data migration as well. But for some information, you may have new information or data, such as this one on the screen about production. Perhaps at the time of the fourth reporting cycle, you didn't know certain things and now you know. So please revise each of these questions and tables carefully to see if what we did with the data migration reflects your reality still or not. There is also links to references to the articles of the convention to try to help you identify where these questions and tables came from. So they are all pop-up windows that come up whenever you pass your mouse over and click on the articles mentioned in the questions and tables. One important aspect for those who are not familiar with the system is that there are questions which are dependent on other questions. So you need to be careful about that. Here on the screen, you see one on unintentional pops. So if the user presses yes, a few sub-questions are then displayed on the screen and the user is supposed to answer them. If the user would say no, probably in this case, the two questions wouldn't appear. So it depends on the question and on the table. You need to be careful about that, whether there are sub-questions and sub-tables to be filled in. The error checking feature that I mentioned to you, this is just showing an example of these red bars are showing to the user that she didn't or he didn't answer all the questions. In this case, for example, the years were not selected. Now, a few slides on changes in the fifth reporting cycle. So, as previously mentioned, we are learning as we are doing assessments and using the system over the years. And we learn about the UPOPs that the table that we used to have, which was horizontal, was cumbersome to be filled in. So we are trying a new format now and hope that this can be a better approach for you parties. And this approach here is very similar to the approach used in the toolkit for unintentional POPs. So we have for each year a table with the annual releases and the different source groups, etc. So we hope that that would allow you to easily copy the information you may have in the toolkit into the national reporting system. Other parts that were changed in the fifth reporting cycle are based on the feedback we got on PCB. So we simplified some of the tables of the PCB section of reporting. We have table 9.3, which was simplified, table 14.2 on inventories. It's much more simplified than before. And now information on import of PCB and export of PCB is only available within the section of PCB. And some small changes such as column names and drop-down lists, which are following the nomenclature that the SIWG suggested to us. So we hope that this is clear, but if not, please reach out to us and then we can try to help you. Finally, we also simplified some information on the PFOS tables, which used also to be very big. And we noticed that many parties didn't have any data on PFOS, therefore we try to simplify those. Also, some exemptions are expiring over time, so we are trying to catch up with those as well and reflect that situation in the system. Finally, when you have done all of this, collected your data at the national level, coordinated among yourselves that everything that you put in the system is what you want to submit, your OCP then can go to the final page of the reporting questionnaire and submit the national report. Here is some let's say, alerts to all of us based on the experience we are having. We are seeing that a few parties are having difficulties, and we would like to highlight how important it is for you also to do your quality checks before you submit your reports. So, for example, by avoiding leaving any question without an answer empty, if you need to do that because you don't have data, perhaps you could make a note on one of the comments. The pages have comments field, so you can indicate there what's happening so that we can understand if it was not a mistake only, or if you really have a problem with collecting the data. The same about numeric fields. So many countries have a tendency, because they don't have the information, to write text in numeric fields on quantitative fields. And we try to avoid that, because that really disturbs whenever we want to do any kind of statistics. So we cannot sum numbers with text. Therefore, this is an important quality check on your side. Again, if you need to put any comment, put it in the comment field and not inside of the numeric fields. The issue of the number of years covered is always come in every cycle of the Stockholm Convention reporting. And as we are interested in seeing trend data over time, it's important that if you have data for more than 4 years, please put it there. If you only have for the last 4 years or last 3 years, put what you have there. This will vary according to the question. Some questions are very explicit and others are less. So for those that are less, you have the possibility to give more information. In the case of the UPOPs is one of them. You can add many years there, not only the last 4. One important point is number 4 here on the screen, which is all of you are doing NIP updates most likely, or have done. And in doing that, you collected a lot of information. So part of those collected data and information could be reused in your report. So you did that effort and don't throw it away. Sometimes the responsibility is not the same, meaning the OCP not necessarily is involved in the NIP. So you need to coordinate at the national level. But we noticed a lot when we're doing the effectiveness evaluation last time, that a lot of data was in the NIP and not reflected on reports. So it would be important to recall that and try to reuse as much as you can. And in general, try to do your quality checks before you submit, please. Now, highlights about the manuals available for you. These are available on the website. So we have a manual on the electronic reporting system, which for people who are brand new to the convention and to this area of work, this might be handy. So it explains quickly the EIS, which is a simple system. In general, people don't have problems with that, but in case someone wishes to know more about it, the manual is available for all of you. Then we have a more comprehensive manual, which was also brought to the attention of the COP. It's a manual on the content expected to be used and answered in the questionnaire. So it's a more comprehensive, as I said. Perhaps you work only in part of it, but it's a lot of interesting information there, and where you could get that information at the national level. We're revising that because of the changes. It's still not available yet, the revision, because of this smaller change that I mentioned to you. But the bulk of the information which is required for national report is there, available also on the website. For here, it's an example of this manual. So for example, in question 1 on implementation plans, the manual will indicate whether your country, indicate where you get information from the national implementation plan and what you should answer, yes, currently being developed, or no, and so on. Another example is about the production. So it would indicate what is expected and when you should say yes, when you should say no, when you should say which kind of details here in each of these smaller fields. And here's a note, for example, it's calling the attention of the user that, here we are asking about production of PFOS, for example. And then in the PFOS questions, there are some related questions. So it's important that you also are aware of that in different parts of the questionnaire, you have some linkages. So if one person is answering here, no, I never produced PFOS, that should be consistent with what you are saying in the part regarding PFOS only. And we saw some discrepancies. So we are calling your attention in the manual and also here about these difficulties or differences. Finally, the dashboard, which is something more recent that we developed in the Secretariat, which is a visualization tool for you to look at aggregated data from national reports. So it's, again, a web-based application that is open to everyone. It's structured using the questionnaire structure. We have a few more areas with raw data and aggregated data there. And it's available on the website, also under countries reporting. So it's here on the screen, you see reporting dashboard. This is a screen from the dashboard, which has also a menu on the left side showing the different sessions and parts of, and questions and tables of the questionnaire, and also of the visualizations you can have on those. And also we have a couple of overviews that then combine data and information of different questions and tables. For example, we have an overview which show you the totals of production, import, export, and disposal of POPs. So in one view, you have that information all together. And we also have the status of submission, which shows the countries that have reported when and so on. In this dashboard, you have a top menu, which allows you to choose the reporting cycle you want to see information from. We still don't have the 5th there because we're still working on that, but also parties still working on their reports themselves. So we are going to update that soon to allow, but you can also see data from the 3rd reporting cycle and 4th reporting cycle. For some of the questions, you will be able to also select the type of displaying of data that you want, the visualization you want, either in a table or in a chart, in a map. You can always choose the region or the whole world or a few countries to look at the data. And in some questions, when that is relevant, you can also filter by chemical. Here's just one example that is showing the number of parties that have reported, not reported, and so on. And you have information shown in a pie chart, in a bar chart, and so on. And what is important in this, for example, for your national presentations or any coordination meeting that you may have, is that you can download these pictures in PDF or PNG format, and then reuse the image in your own need or training, for example. For all the tables in the system, you can also export the data to Excel, which allows also for different then visualizations in case you wish to work on that for any study or any comparison that you may wish to do. Here's another example showing that for some questions, we can also choose the years, not only the reporting cycle, but also the years you want to visualize information or chemicals in this case. And this is the status of submission. So here you have information from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and soon the 5th reporting cycle. And then when they each, how many parties we had in each, and when those were submitted. Another graphic from the dashboard, a bar chart showing the same information on production, export, import, and disposal in an easier way. And also some visualization on production using a map. And here we can see perhaps some good news that not a lot of production is happening, so which is good. It's in alignment with the convention objectives. That's it from my side for now. Oops, sorry. Just stop here sharing. And I would like now to invite you to raise any questions or to share any experience you may wish with us. If you have a question, just please use your little hand at the side of your name, and then I'll give you the floor. Thank you very much. Yes, Elham, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, good afternoon. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I have two questions. The first one that when we put our data from the projects which we have, it should be make attachment for the reports of the projects reports, or that's enough that we put the data? This one question. The other one, we already make update for our NIP, but until now it's not issued or sent it. So I can take some information, and data from it if it's issued or not, the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Both relevant questions. Thank you very much. I see that you're from Egypt. Regarding the attachments.
Yeah, from Egypt.
Okay, thank you. Depends. It depends. The attachment can be useful for the national report if it's something related to national reporting, if the project is related to the information requested in the national report. So it's a generic assessment to say that you should upload the file or not. It depends on the file. And there are many questions that require you not to upload any file, but to enter the data itself on the tables. So I would assume that if it's, for example, let's be concrete, inventories data, it's not enough if you upload a file containing the data. You need to enter the data into the table itself. They are not very long tables. And those long tables, we are trying to streamline and make them shorter. So it shouldn't be a big effort to do that. And you do that, and it's valid for 4 years, and perhaps it's reused in the future reporting cycle. So it shouldn't be a problem. So I cannot really say to you exactly which project documents you can upload and which ones you would need to copy the data from. And then for the NIP, I suppose since you have done your NIP, you didn't submit, it's up to you to decide at the country level whether the information in the NIP is the one you want to submit through the NIP itself and also through the report. If the information is collected in the way that you were supposed to do, and your focal point and your your OCP and national focal point are in agreement, why not? Even if you didn't submit your NIP, you can still reuse the information on the reporting. But one point here is that the national reporting deadline is 31st August next year. So you still have a couple of months to solve this issue internally, meaning you could still decide whether the NIP is ready to be submitted or not, and based on that, then reuse the data in the national reports. You still have about 6-7 months, no more, 9 months to decide. So perhaps in this time you could guarantee that the information in your NIP is exactly what you want to submit, and then reuse it in the report. I hope this clarifies.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I ask because there is a meeting for PCB's elimination to discuss the report of PCB's elimination. We did a lot of efforts, and I did the report number 4, but the update NIP I didn't submit until now. And they made with me a meeting, and I said all our situation about PCB's elimination. And after all this, I didn't find Egypt in the data of comparison between the countries. And when I asked, they said that because I didn't submit the 5th one. And when I asked that I can submit before COP, can you show my country in the effectiveness evaluation committee the data? But they said no, it's finished. Yeah, this is what I ask about. I am keen to show all the efforts we did it in POPs elimination or in PCBs and pesticide special. We did a lot of efforts, and we did a lot of get rid of many tons of it. So if I send the 5th national report before COP, so it's reflect in the COP or not? Thank you.
So different things here, it seems. So for some early evaluations on PCB, if your data was not submitted at the time they were still looking at the data, then perhaps they didn't use your data. But please submit all the data you have, either through the national report or through your NIPs. Don't hold them because different assessments will take place and will continue taking place. So if they didn't use in the past, they may use in the future. So please, if the information that you have on PCB is new and new in comparison to your 4th reporting cycle, submitted in the 5th reporting cycle, and eventually it will be used for the PCB's elimination. For the COP itself, we don't highlight any data from any country. At the COP, we only discuss at the general level. We don't pinpoint one country or another country and the data submitted. So this is done in intersessional work. So we are not going to highlight what your country, for example, has submitted at the COP. That's not how it works. No, we will do the other assessments based on everybody's data, not only your country. And we may need to get back to you in case we have doubts about your specific countries, but we don't highlight the data missing or available from any country during the COP. So
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. If you need
I
more
will
help,
send.
just reach out to me individually. You are going to get the presentation. My colleagues will send you the presentation, and there you have my email. So just write to me individually, and then we can catch up if needed, okay?
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you.
And now I see another hand from Sam. Sam, please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much, Carla. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's timely. And first of all, we are happy that the 5th reporting, the format has been perhaps adjusted to make it more friendly, because the completion is not an easy task at all. And I'm also glad that perhaps you are going to send us, say, the 4th reporting that we did, and then ask us questions or help us know where we went wrong so that we can make the corrections. That's very helpful. And I'm looking forward to that. I have a number of questions or some clarifications from you, seeking from you. First of all, the user account that you mentioned, the official contact points, the technical offices. I'm not sure which one you sent to me, but perhaps we may need one or more so that other officers can help. If you want me to submit names, I can do that later on. Number two, I think again, I haven't checked the 5th reporting, the format yet, but I'll be happy to see if there are, say, more questions asked with alternative answers, because that is a helpful thing, so that more or less will provide you answers that you want. Otherwise, when we are left on our own, we'll give you certain information which you may not require. But if you ask us questions with some answers, alternative answers, that will help us, guide us in answering the questions. The next one is about the say air emission reporting. You know, there are conversions depending on how you did your sampling. If you use a pass, it's different from the reporting, may be different from the use of active samplers. For example, you may report, say, microgram per pass in your air sampling, whereas if it is what they call it, active sampler, it will be microgram per meter cube, sort of. So, I mean, if we are reporting, how do we convert, say, the passive samplers into active samplers, or the standardized one? That's my question. Maybe the last one I will ask is that the manual that you talked about, has it been updated to reflect the 5th reporting format? So these are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Very good questions. Feedback, I agree. We learned in the previous one that the feedback helps party, and we saw change in behavior. Meaning we provided feedback in the last cycle, and we saw that countries took them into account and improved the type of submission they did. So we will continue with that. But again, that tackles only the countries that have reported, which is less than 50%. We still need the other 50% to report, and we'll be glad to help those as well. How many accounts? 2 accounts, one for the OCP and one for the technical officers, that can be shared with many people. So the technical account, the technical officer account can be shared with multiple people, and they can work in parallel. So no worries. If you have any problems, Sam, you can reach out to me. In general, this is enough for the team to work together. So you may share the technical account with different people in your team. If I understood you rightly, you were saying that it would be great if you could provide you some examples on how to answer the questions. Is that right? Did I understand your question rightly?
No, I'm saying
No?
that in the previous reporting,
Yeah.
at times it's difficult to know the right answer that you required. But if you provide us with alternative answers, which you demonstrated it a short while ago, for example, they asked, and they give us A, B, C, D, which of them then you choose? The one that fits you. Those
Okay.
those questions are always friendly. It helps us to move on faster and also get the right responses. Yes.
I would say the manual could be very helpful in that sense. And since the report has 24 pages, if I'm not mistaken, perhaps splitting that also with the different people in your units, your team, if you have one. Of course, if it's just one person doing it all, it might be more difficult. But if it's a group of colleagues working together, you could split and then everybody would take care of looking at the manual part that is related to, let's say, UPOPs, while the other one is taking care of the PCBs and the other one about the stockpiles and so on. The manual is really trying to give you that. When should you say yes, when you should say no, when you should say something else, where the data could come from. I hope that helps. But this week we had another webinar, and a colleague from South Arabia, he was saying that perhaps we could have a best cases or best examples, best practices to be shared with the parties in the future. So I took note of that idea, and perhaps in the future we could also develop something in that direction to help you also see some examples that could help you. I am in this category and that category, but that's an idea for the future. For now, I would say the manual should do this, should provide you with this support, and also you can reach out to me if you have any specific questions. We have different experts working in different fields. I can also try to reach out to them in case it's something I cannot answer myself, and help you doing your report. On conversions, we thought of putting them in the system and we didn't manage, and we don't know how many of these conversions are out there. So it's difficult for us to understand exactly how to help you. I mean, many things can be also found on the internet, how to convert from this unit to that unit. The system doesn't help you in that, but the system is kind of consistent. So we are not changing units from time to time. We are using the same units as usual. We are trying to harmonize if there was one of them which was not in the same unit. And these are standard units, so it's kilograms, it's tons, and if you are doing your inventories and sampling using different units, you will need to do the conversion yourself, I'm afraid. Again, if we can help, if you have any specific question, you could reach out to us. Regarding the manual, it's not yet updated. I'm working on it. It's a pending task. We will have a new version of it containing this smaller changes that I mentioned, like the PCB tables on but the content is about the same. The instructions will change a little bit because the format has been changed, but the content is the same. We didn't change the content that we are asking information about. Many thanks. I hope this helps them, but again, please feel free to contact me or ask one of your colleagues to do so. I'll be happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There is a new person that raised the hand, Chowdhury, Vadut Chowdhury. From Bangladesh.
Thank you.
From Bangladesh?
Yes, from Bangladesh. Carla, thank you and for your nice presentation. I have some query and also have some recommendation for you. That is, I'd like to know about do you have any time-bound work plan for making the reporting? What we have to report it by 31st August 2022. So have you made any time-bound work plan for doing all the things so that we can complete all the things in time? Number two, maybe I'm not clear about the official contact point. So the user ID and the password. So I think that you will provide the user ID and password for the official contact point as well as for the technical officer or office. So when will you send the user ID and the password to the official contact point? And next, that I like to recommend for something that your address and the contact point, you can give it to the reporting side so that we can easily collect it and you can communicate. We can communicate with you as well as I'm requesting to give some video content like tutorials in the site so that the reporting countries, the country can make and use it and get the idea that how to fill the format. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, many good
Thank you very much.
ideas. I can hear. Yeah, thank you. Time to report. Yes. So those who are more familiar with the convention, they may have learned that they should not wait until the 30th of August to then collect the data. That's something that you do on a continuous basis. Most likely, whenever you have your NEP updates, you have a better chance to do that. But that's part of how you implement the convention at the national level. So the collection of data should not be done on the month that you are submitting a report. Most likely, other colleagues here who have more experience and are in the call may share their own experience as well on how they do that. But I suppose you need to do that over a period of time so that you guarantee that you have the different things that you need. You may also need to reach out to other ministries. It's not necessarily only the ministry where you work that you have all the data required. So it would be important to have a look at the questionnaire and
I
see
work
what
in the
is
ministry.
which ministry.
Look at.
Sorry, which ministry did you mention?
Sorry, which ministry did you mention?
Thank you. I work in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in Bangladesh.
Thank you. Okay, so
Thank you. Okay.
there is an echo here, guys. I don't know if anybody has a microphone
Anybody has a microphone
open. Chowdhury, would you mind closing your mic?
Chowdhury.
Thank you. Yes, so normally what I learned from different colleagues is that, not only the Ministry of Environment or equivalent can have all the data. So you may need to talk to other ministries, let's say agriculture or responsible for that sector and others, so that you get the information you need. Customs, perhaps for import and export, information about the production may come from another ministry again. So you need a national effort, a little committee or a little group that would be responsible to collect the data from the different organizations with different colleagues so that eventually can report. That's at the national coordination level. Then normally the OCP has the overall responsibility to submit, but perhaps the OCP is the one person in your country that would create such a little group or committee to collect the data needed, or as perhaps someone else. I can really not interfere in that. I suppose that countries work differently, so you need to check with your OCP how that person would like to work, and then organize yourselves for that. I would suggest to start early. The earlier the better, not wait until August next year. The email was sent already to the OCPs last week. And the OCP has the two accounts, the account for him or herself and the account for the technical team. And that person, the OCP, is the one who is supposed to share that information with the team. The team perhaps has 2 people, 3 people, 10 people. Again, it's a national decision, which I don't interfere. I communicate from the Secretariat only with the OCP on that level, and then the OCP is the one supposed to reach out to the team. So if there is a problem of communication, let's talk again. I think we exchanged already an email on that, but you need to contact your OCP and understand what is, if the email was lost or not, and if so, we can resend and see how to go about it. About the video training, I think it's a great idea. We didn't have time yet to do that, but we thought of it as well, and I hope we can do that earlier next year. Some video trainings to give you some ideas on how to report. But a lot of the work, I don't know, my experience in the Secretariat is that I see reporting as a kind of an iceberg, meaning the top of the iceberg is the reporting, but actually you have to do a lot of things under the water in order to get to the top, to see the top really working well. And that has nothing to do with reporting. That has to do with the implementation of the convention. Reporting is just the last step that you have when you collect the data, when you're implementing the convention, and then you are sharing that with your colleagues in the other countries. But the reporting itself is a simple part, let's call it. What you have to do before in order to get there, it's where you need to spend more energy and time and coordinate. I hope that gives you some sense. And I know that's not all the answers you need, but I don't have all the answers. I'm sorry about that. Any more
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Any
But we can keep in
more
touch,
questions?
okay? If you wish, we can exchange another time, more details about specifically on your country, if you wish. There is someone. Ah, okay. Thank you, Hans Christian. Anybody else has any question? No, not at the moment. So we will send you the presentation that I used today, and I'm here also to help. So anytime, reach out to me, send me an email. If I don't answer immediately, I will answer in the next days. But yeah, don't be afraid of asking. Don't be afraid of requesting. You know, we are here to help you. This is for the benefit of the convention and for all of you. So we are happy to help. If there is no more question round, then we could stop here today. And as we mentioned, my email, you will see that my email is carla.valle@un.org. I think we exchanged already an email, but it will be in my presentation. It's on the last slide of the presentation that you will receive because you attended this webinar. We will organize other webinars next year. If we have a chance, we will also organize some webinars on specific areas of reporting, perhaps one on PCBs, perhaps one on PFOS, so that you also have the feeling of the specificities of those POPs. And I would be glad if you would be there to help us understand your views and the difficulties you may be having and find solutions. So thank you very much for being here with us today. Wishing you a good night, a good continuation, and good day for those who are starting the day. Thank you very much.
Carla. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good evening.
Thank you.